Hi, this is John. In this short video, we're going to explore how we think about and how we visualize work in product. So you're probably all familiar with this kind of view. It's like a state-based view. We think about the different maybe stages of workflow, and we think about things passing across a workflow like this. So here's another view. You have time, and we think about how work might play out over that time. Well, it's a guess, right? Our cone of uncertainty is pretty wide, but if today we're right here, we're sort of trying to predict how the work will pan out over time. Now, of course, you could layer goals on this. For example, we might be right here, and we think that maybe hitting this goal is our path to hitting this goal, is our path to hitting this particular goal. And maybe we need to do the work underneath here to impact our ability to hit those goals. But that's certainly one way you can think about it, not just in terms of work or not just in terms of goals, but both. So here's another way to think about it. We take something that's kind of stable. It could be a stable work stream or a stable input. And we think about how over time we might try to achieve things to improve that. Maybe our goal is to, move a metric from something to something by a certain date. Certainly those things could be other stable things too. Like, for example, here we have a capability. Maybe our goal is to have, a maturity 5 capability by this time. And then maybe our goal is to make it, 3 over here. Maybe with this capability, we just want to make sure it doesn't go down. Of course, you can throw these things together. In this case, we have our little state-based view. Then maybe we have a map of inputs that lead to something that lead to maybe lagging results. That's like a tree. It's a hypothesis of causal relationships between things that are leading and things that are lagging. And certainly we could set goals on that too. We could have a Q1 goal for this, a Q2 goal for this input, a Q3 goal for this input, or Q4 goal for that input. Goals are everywhere. If you think about it, let's say a team is doing some work for this initiative. Well, you could have milestone related goals. You could have delivery goals like finishing the thing by the end. You could have goals related to the actual impact of that initiative. Initiative metrics, we're going to move this to this. We could have goals based on our actionable inputs that aren't work related, but maybe are these stable actionable inputs. We could have goals on our North Star. We could have goals for revenue. And all those goals could be happening this quarter if we wanted, because maybe our revenue is the sum total of all these past decisions we've made over the years, whereas our goals for our actionable inputs might be our goals around things that we're doing in the near future. So what you really have here is you have to really think about the stability of the things that you are working towards. We have things that are very, very shiftable and have very little stability. The tasks we have, the subtasks, the checklist. And we have things that are very stable. Capabilities as defined are really stable. You'll be defining that capability probably the same way in 10 years or 5 years. The core values of your company, enduring customer needs. Somewhere in the middle, you have long-range goals or guardrails or KPIs or planning principles. You might have near-term milestones or quarterly OKRs. So we're always working across this sort of spectrum of stability. And all these things are related. It forms a hypothesis of sorts, right? You've got tasks leading to projects, leading to features connected to strategic pillars. You've got connections going this way. You've got connections going this way. You've got connections going this way. That's just how it works. That's the nature of the game. This is an old image of mine, but it shows a roadmap. And, if you think of today is the sum total of all these things you've done in the past coming to fruition. And the future is going to be the sum total of many other things, right? So we're always dealing with this kind of cone of uncertainty and of layers of time when we're doing product work. When people talk about being more continuous with their planning, the way that I like to think about it is if you imagine this particular sort of mesh of things, what you're basically saying is you're just reassessing that more often. So some companies, they take a whole year to reassess that. But if you're more continuous, nothing's truly continuous. You're maybe assessing this narrative more often and you're shifting things as they make sense. Another way to think of this is that at any given time, we kind of have our current narrative. So this is an example narrative. It starts out, right now, one of our strategic pillars is customer trust at scale. And to support that pillar, we've established a number of guardrails. Those guardrails shape our architectural principles. Our long-range goals this year is to improve this. We're using a few KPIs. That rolls down to a project and we have milestones. So it's not exactly a cascade as much as it's a narrative that spans these, particular items and artifacts across different levels of stability. That's really the crux of it, is this narrative, right? This is the narrative that every product manager needs to have in their head at any given time. It doesn't mean that you need to be certain about all these things, but you need to be at least aware of them. You need to be aware how they fit together. So just to end on this idea, in product work, we have all these different lenses for things. We can view things in terms of time, and we can add goals, or we could think about them as a Kanban board and state-based things. We can think about them as trees. We could add work to the trees if we wanted to, but ultimately, at the end of the day, you're constructing this narrative. That's the narrative you have currently in your head, and you're reassessing that narrative on a periodic basis. Hopefully this video is interesting.